Alrighty, good evening, Arkansas. This is Chief Forecaster Cameron,
And
and
Derek here once again, coming to you live from the firstregional.com weather studios. And last night we were talking severe weather, tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, live, a lot of wind damage. To date, we are talking about yet another high impact winter storm to affect the state here in just a little over 48 hours.
definitely, guys. So we have that winter storm watch that's in effect for much of northern and northeastern Arkansas right now. We have a lot of people that are going to be asking, especially in central Arkansas, are we going to see anything because you're not under a watch right now and stuff like that. We want to stress while we have everybody here that we are expected to see winter weather in central Arkansas, even for our folks in southern Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be patient with our folks in the National Weather Service offices because they're trying to figure out the amount, the impacts, and stuff like that. So I'd say probably first thing tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
or at least by this time tomorrow evening, we should have a good amount of the state at least under some sort of winter weather headline, either be a winter storm warning or even in some potential cases, an ice storm warning for some folks here. We're going to talk about amounts, we're going to talk about timing, we're going to talk about impacts, and then we're going to get to you guys' questions here. So if y'all could do me a favor, blow this live stream up here, guys. Hit that share button. We figured out how to go live on the main page. So if you guys can hit that share button, we would really appreciate it. Stay patient with us, and we're going to try to get through this as quickly as possible here. Go ahead, Eric.
Yep. So again, as we have been talking about for several days, a high impact winter storm was expected. The biggest question was going to be precip type, and this is unlike our system that we had in January where it was all snow. But our folks in South Arkansas dealt with that warm nose. Well, this time we're going to be dealing with the warm nose once again, but this time our temperatures are going to be well below freezing this time around. It's going to be one of those situations where you could go 100 miles and go from heavy snow to heavy freezing rain. Maybe even the potential of a few rumbles of thunder with this event as well.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that coming up in a little bit as well here. So, first off, before we get started with everything here, just wanted to kind of give you guys a quick look at the radar right now. Very cold temperatures across the board, all the way down to the teens up there in northwestern Arkansas. Just a little bit above freezing here in central Arkansas, and then in the mid-30s down there in southern Arkansas at this current time. These temperatures are going to continue to remain cold up until our winter storm as we get into Tuesday and into Wednesday. If you need to go to the grocery store, if you need to get stuff prepared, tomorrow is going to be a really good day to do that. You may even have the first part of Tuesday to do that for some people, especially in central and eastern Arkansas. But I'd say by the time we get into Tuesday afternoon, conditions are going to start to deteriorate. Some folks are going to start seeing freezing rain, sleet, snow.
Yep.
So try to wrap everything up as much as possible tomorrow. If at all possible, try to get it done as early Tuesday. You may have a little bit more time there. But like I said, we're going to go over timing coming up here in just a little bit here. So let's talk about this. And this is what we call the winter storm outlook. And I mean, I'm gonna show you guys this. So this is like my ice bottle here. This is pretty much like a slushy bottle here with this. You've got blue, orange, pink, yellow, all types of colors on this map, guys. Just an absolute mess in terms of the overall winter weather outlook as we move into your Tuesday time frame and the early Wednesday here. So Derek, since you like snow so much, I'm gonna let you take over the snow part of the forecast up in north, and then I get to get you guys the bad news and talk about the ice in central and southern Arkansas here. Go ahead.
So, as unlike with the past event in January, where we dealt with heavy snow in central, so in the central part of the state and kind of lesser amounts in North Arkansas. This time around, North Arkansas, I know y'all been begging for that massive winter storm where you get a lot of snow. This is going to be your event. Again, there is a lot of moisture with this setup. There's a lot of cold air to work with. It's one of those rare setups where you have an Arctic cold front coming through during the event with cold air already in place, but getting colder as we go through the day. Now, one thing about it is with the heavy snow area and the snow area, we are going to be dealing with that cold air coming in around the mountains. So that being said, places in northeast Arkansas may start out as be all snow continuously, while parts of northwest Arkansas may see a brief period of freezing rain and or sleet before changing over to snow. But overall, our predominant type is going to be snow, and several inches could be seen during this event. And I mean, we could be talking, upwards of and we'll go over this here shortly, but 2, 4, 6, 8 inches plus of snow. You go just north into areas like Branson and Joplin and Springfield. Over a foot of snow is going to be possible just south of I-70 down there to the Arkansas border. But the further south you go, the crazier the weather gets. And that's not saying we won't see snow here in central Arkansas, but we're going to have a whole lot more to come.
Definitely. So before we go any further, I want to test out a couple of things here, especially on TikTok. I don't know if we are actually live on TikTok right now. I'm going to kind of look and see if we are. It looks like it's sending data over, but if it is, if you guys can let me know in the comments if we are. If we're not, then it's okay. But it looks like it says it's streaming over here on TikTok. So we'll just trying to take a look at it real quickly here. It looks like we're not. Oh, yeah, we are. We are live on TikTok now. So if you guys want to watch us on TikTok as well, we are now live on TikTok. So TikTok, Roku, not Fire TV, Facebook, and YouTube. That's 4 different platforms, and we are live right now talking about this winter.
Live on?
So do what?
Which TikTok are you live on?
The main one. It popped up over here.
Okay.
On my side. So we're gonna go with it. I see it live over here. So we're gonna go with that here, guys. Like I said before, we're gonna go over questions and stuff like that. So just remain patient with us. The biggest thing I want to stress, and I love this comment from Kim, make sure that if you have, you have a generator and stuff like that, tomorrow will be a really good day to kind of make sure that it's working. If you have somebody that has a generator, tomorrow is a really good day to be best friends with them and be like, hey, buddy, I've known you for a little bit. Hey, can I borrow your generator for this? So, this is something, kind of the event, especially for our folks in Central and Southern Arkansas, that we're going to have to watch for that power outage for Central, and we'll talk more about that coming up here in just a second here. Speaking of which, actually, this is the graphic we just pulled up. Now we get to talk about that power outage threat, especially across Central and South Arkansas here. So when you talk about freezing rain and indoor sleet, especially mainly freezing rain. Sleet really doesn't cause any power outage issues. But when you talk about freezing rain, basically what happens is, at the end of the day, freezing rain is just regular rain that falls and it hits contact. But a contact, the ground or power line or whatever is below freezing. So what happens is the water hits that power line or hits the ground or the road and it freezes on contact. Think about like if you put water in the freezer, you accidentally spill it, right? That water instantly freezes on the bracket or something like that in the freezer. So that's kind of how freezing rain works. Well, when you talk about that, you get so much ice accumulation on the power lines, it starts to sag the power lines down. Same thing applies with tree limbs. Now, when you have that, you're adding 20, 25, 30 mile per hour winds to that. So now you're going to be dealing with tree limbs that are going to be falling because of the wind. Tree limb falls on the power line goes down, you have a power outage here. So the power outage threat for the Tuesday, especially Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. So throughout the day on Tuesday, you should be good, but I think Tuesday night going into your Wednesday morning is where you're going to have that power outage threat for our folks in Central and Southern Arkansas. Gonna keep an eye on this, the Queen, Daisy, Mount Ida, over towards the Mina area over here in the Ouachita very closely. Derek's going to talk more about that coming up here in a little bit, but that will be the area that we would have to watch for a possible upgrade to very likely, as ice accumulations could be rather significant in this little corridor here, if you want to talk more about that.
So, when we're dealing with this type of setup, what happens is your colder air comes in around the Ozarks, down the funnel is what we call it, the 167 corridor, east of the Ozarks, east of the Ouachita Mountains, into the River Valley, into the Delta region first. So what happens is, parts of West Arkansas, like the higher elevations of the Ouachitas, tend to get more warm air advection longer, especially when you're dealing with southwest flow. So this area could actually deal with a prolonged period of freezing rain before we switch over to that sleet and then eventually that snowfall. Hence why the upgrade to very likely is possible, because if you start dealing with a quarter to a half inch or more of ice, especially with the winds that we're going to be dealing with this setup, then you're going to be dealing with a very prominent area of heavy freezing rain, especially if you do get storms. And the further south you go, the more of a chance of seeing a thunderstorm or two to go with this setup does exist. So that's why this area has been highlighted for that potential for a increase when it comes to freezing rain amounts, as well as that possibility of ice. Now, obviously, cold air comes in sooner, cold air comes in deeper, Cameron.
Yeah.
Then we could be dealing with a more of a sleet setup, and these power outage threat would go down.
Yeah. I kind of want to talk, kind of bring you guys back to, I think, what was it, February 2022, I do believe, where, we had forecast a good amount of ice for central Arkansas, and what ended up happening is your cold air aloft was able to sink down just enough to kind of prevent that from being the case. But for my folks in southeast Arkansas, you guys just absolutely got destroyed by that freezing rain during that event here. So hopefully, we can get enough cold air in place across much of Arkansas to prevent a significant ice issues. But that is a possibility when you start talking about warm air invention and stuff like that here, guys. So let's talk about the number one thing that everybody wants to know across the board is the snowfall totals here. And I want to stress this right now. No, this is not going to be a repeat of what happened last month, where every single person across the board got snow. This go around, especially the closer you get to spring, you start introducing warm air aloft. You start introducing these systems that start going to the north a little bit more. When you start introducing warm air, things get tricky. And that's where we need people to understand that this is not going to be another January 2.0 what we had last month when everybody got snow. The majority of this, and I think the heaviest part of the snow, like Derek highlighted in this snowfall map, will be across northern Arkansas, from Fayetteville, Jasper, Harrison, Mountain Home, Walnut Ridge. It's going to be in that area in North Arkansas, but that does not mean anybody outside of that area won't see snow. I just think the closer you get to Missouri, the better shot you've got to see some heavy snow. Go ahead.
Now, one caveat to this whole setup, okay? And one thing I want to stress about this snowfall map is could the higher amounts come down a little further south if your cold air is a little deeper? Absolutely. Now, that being said, the reason why the amounts are lower, especially when you deal with around the central third of the state, I do expect a corridor from along the I-40 corridor into the River Valley, into the Washita's, where we could increase these totals a little bit. Same thing goes for our folks in Northeast Arkansas. Again, this is a first look over everything we see right now, which is highest confidence as to what we expect to see right now. That being said, if our low tracks a little further south, if the cold air comes a little sooner around the Ozarks, then obviously we could be dealing with higher snow totals and less freezing rain and sleet totals than what are currently anticipated. Again, this takes into account snow only, no sleet, no freezing rain. So that being said, hence why it's further south. In January, you had all snow, so therefore you didn't have to deal with those sleet totals, have to deal with those ice totals. Therefore, you had a heavier amount of snow. Some places got over a foot of snow in that event. This is almost the exact same setup, but much warmer air aloft, as you typically get in late February into March, as our pattern starts shifting back to that springtime setup.
Yeah, so that's the name of the game here. And I think, outside of 21, I do believe, is the one and only event that has really been a true snowfall event for us here in Arkansas. The last, from 2022, 23, last year, and even now, you're dealing with some sort of ice with this, and that's just normal whenever you're dealing with this in February here. So we're going to go ahead and move over to the next graphic. First off, I want to talk about this because we've had a lot of people ask about the power outage potential here, and this is what we mean. So you have a normal power line, then you start talking freezing rain, and I know freezing rain is not the most popular thing on the world compared to snow, but I want you guys to be prepared for the power outage threat. I'm very concerned about the power outage potential, especially my folks in the Washita's and West Arkansas, down to southern Arkansas once again. I'm very concerned about the potential of seeing some power outages down here. So this is how it works. Freezing rain falls on those power lines. It freezes over, it builds the ice, and it starts to weigh down. As a matter of fact, I think a half an inch of ice is 500 pounds weighted down on those power lines, and you guys know that's going to pull those power lines down, and that's what causes power outages here. So be prepared for that. Even though a lot of people are not going to see a good amount of snow unless you're in North Arkansas, that doesn't mean, oh, okay, I'm just going to ignore this event. Freezing rain and sleet will be a problem for us here, especially in central and in southern Arkansas here. And keep in mind, things can and will change here. I want to bring up Jason Hampton, great guy.
Yep.
I want to bring up his comment real quickly here. The higher ratios,
the crystal ball.
yeah, AKA the crystal ball. Higher ratios will happen up there in North Arkansas after dark. And here's what I'm hoping that happens, Jason. The cold air you guys have up there, I hope you guys are able to share it down for central and southern Arkansas so we can avoid a significant ice event, especially for our folks in central and the Ouachita areas over there in West Arkansas and in the southern Arkansas here. So we'll keep an eye on things here.
One thing I want to mention, and this has been a trend here, the Zero's colder.
Yeah.
GFS was colder. Now the NAM, which had an off run this afternoon that showed warm, has now come in cold with sleet versus ice in the metro, heavier snowfall in North Arkansas, and heavier snow now here as well. So it's something to keep an eye on. Again, as we get closer to the event, you want to see more cold air.
Yeah.
You don't want to see less cold air. You want to see more cold air the closer we get to the event.
Yeah. And
that's something we're going to be watching as we get closer.
Jason's like, I'll push it down as much as I can. We would appreciate it. So let's talk about the freezing rain potential here.
This is the elephant in the room.
Yeah, this is the elephant in the room right here. If you want to talk more about that, go ahead.
So, as we've been talking about, this is a classic Arkansas setup where somebody's going to get an ice storm out of this.
Yeah.
I hate being that way. I hate calling for ice storms two days out, but that's just the way it's going to be. The biggest question is going to be right now is going to be who gets that amount of freezing rain. Who's going to be? Right now, the Ouachita are favored for that, and then of course for our folks in southern Arkansas as well. Now, along the 82 corridor, places like Texarkana, Magnolia, El Dorado, Crossit, Lake Village, you may escape this with just rain.
Yeah.
You may escape this with just rain or maybe rain or a light glaze, stuff like that. Now, I know in the forecast I just put out for our 24/7 channel, I didn't include those temperatures dropping throughout the day.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, they're not going to drop till late in the day in South Arkansas. So the further south you are, the better chance you have of seeing just rain or just a slight glaze. Yeah. But that section from 82 to I-40 is going to be treacherous, especially Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, and into early Wednesday morning. And again, that being said, your highest ice totals for now are going to be in the Ouachitas with lessening ice totals as you move east because of that cold air funneling in around the Ozarks. But that being said, the colder the air mass, the less ice you will see. The stronger the warm nose, the more ice you are going to see.
Yeah. So basically, when we do, first of all, guys, I do realize that there's a graphic error, so I'm taking care of that right now. But basically, from the Fort Smith, Russellville area, Searcy, up towards just south of Blytheville, down into that pretty much that south central part of the state is where you're going to have that freezing rain potential, especially the significant amount here over here in western Arkansas. So Derek, if you could do me a favor, if you could probably answer a question or two while I take care of this. Just bear me for just a second here. What did I do?
What did you do wrong?
Apparently I sped through this graphic.
Good job.
I'm having to kind of get this graphic ready to go here. So just give me just a second here, and I'll have that up for you guys.
So David had a very good question. Does this all have a chance to push south? Meaning the ice, the sleet, the snow, all of it. Absolutely, it does, because as much of it as it has a chance to push south, it also has a chance to push north.
Yeah.
That being said, we could get to Tuesday, most of us end up in the 40s, and guess what? We're all getting rain out of it.
Yep.
Now, flip side of that coin, we could all end up colder, which I fully expect us to be colder than what data currently has. That's very, very common in this type of setup. You would typically, once we drop below freezing tomorrow night, I don't see us going back above freezing until Friday afternoon or Saturday at the earliest. And so that's something that we're going to have to watch, especially. That's why we're saying impacts with this event are going to be long-lasting, because you're not going to go from the teen and 20s to the 80s.
Yeah.
You're going to go from the 20s to the teens for highs, then gradually warm back up. You're going to have lows below zero. You're going to have lows in the single digits. It is going to be treacherous travel for several days after this event. So, especially if you get ice of this amount, you will be dealing with power outages and a lot of treacherous travel. And my concern, actually, Cameron, is if we get more than is currently forecast when it comes to ice.
Yeah, and I feel like right now it's being just kind of overlooked because, obviously whenever you talk winter weather, everybody wants snow, and that's the number one thing. Whenever you have winter weather, snow is the number one thing that gets talked about. But freezing rain should never, ever, ever be ignored because freezing rain, just like with severe weather, it causes the most issues. It causes the power outages. It causes the tree limbs coming down and stuff like that. So that's why we're telling you guys right now, we get it, especially, those situations where they want to snow and stuff like that. Don't overlook these freezing rain totals, okay? I hope and pray that these freezing rain totals go down significantly because I don't like talking about freezing rain, but it's something you just can't ignore. Like, especially from Waldron, Mena, Mount Ida, over into western Garland County, Daisy down there in western Arkansas near the Ouachita. Please pay attention to the forecast over the next 24 to 48 hours. Don't ignore this just because you're not seeing snow, guys. Freezing rain is a legit concern, and it should never, ever, ever be ignored here. So let's go ahead and talk to you guys about the sleet totals here. Now, for those that are in the questions, you guys are going to have to hold on. Okay, this happens every time we have a Q&A. You guys got to hold on until we get past all the information. It is a very tricky forecast to do because you're not just talking about snow. You're talking about freezing rain. You're talking about sleet. You're talking about power outages, all this stuff. You're talking about travel. This is happening during the middle of the week, pretty much. So you're having to talk about all of this. So we'll get to you guys' questions here in just a little bit, but we've got to get through this first if you want to talk more about the sleet potential for us here in Central Arkansas here.
So this is where our transition line is going to be between the heavy snow to the north and the freezing rain to the south. Now, that being said, our folks in the Ouachitas, once again, we were just talking about that possibility of ice of a quarter to a half inch or more.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, we could also be dealing with heavy sleet as well. Heavier sleet, the further east you go, lighter amount of sleet, the further west you go, and then, of course, obviously, the further south you go as well. Now, that being said, this could be a situation where you have ice and then sleet and then snow on top of that, which, again,
nightmare travel.
You're dealing with this, and then you have that snow blanketing the sleet and the ice on the roadways, and then you're going to have temperatures below freezing for roughly 3 to 4 days on top of that.
Yep.
So that just transitioned this into a high impact winter storm, regardless if you're under watch right now or not. The watches have gone out for snowfall. That's what they've gone out for right now. The watches do not include the sleet totals, do not include freezing rain totals, because that is where we're waiting on more guidance to come in before we get a legit before you're able to hone in on an area of highest potential for the greatest impacts.
Yep.
And right now, that transition line looks to be along the I-40 corridor into West Arkansas. We're up to 2 inches of sleet, in some cases more. If anybody remembers March of 2017, we had almost 6 inches of sleet. We had, if I remember right, it was 2 to 4 inches of sleet. Some areas saw 5+ inches of just sleet.
Yeah.
And that was an event that was forecast to be a major ice storm and turned into a sleet storm. So we had lightning and thunder on that day too.
Yeah.
And that was a forecast. We even forecasted that and said, don't be surprised last minute if we deal with a sleet storm out of this as well. But yeah, that being said, is that right now this is our ongoing forecast. Changes are expected over the next 24 hours as we get closer to this event. But this is the highest forecast confidence as to where your highest sleet totals will be.
Yeah. So we're at the end of our graphics. So now if you have questions, this is probably the time to start pulling us up with questions. We'll try to get to as many as possible here. So I'm going to start off. This is not really a question. This is a comment from Frankie. Not a Frankie we know, but so I hope no one has power outages because it is going to be dangerously cold. Frankie, yes. That is another thing that's not being talked about much. is the fact that this behind this is going to get dangerously close. As a matter of fact,
If
Derek
you want
and
to pull the
his
7 outlook, I can pull the 7 outlook.
and especially with Derek's 8 day outlook that he did tonight. We do have, I do believe, Wednesday and Thursday.
Winter weather alert day.
Winter weather alert day for the cold air itself, because it's going to be very dangerously cold even behind the system here. So if you can give me just a second, I can actually let's talk about. Let's pull North Arkansas for just a little bit.
We'll just pull one.
And this is the forecast. So pretty much kind of frankly what you were talking about with the cold air. Wednesday and Thursday, as you can see, no winter weather potential. But look at those lows, -1 up there in North Arkansas. Those are the base low, by the way. It's not the feels like temperature or anything like that. It's going to be that cold. The feels like temperatures are going to be in the -15, -20 range here. So that's why we've declared that Wednesday and Thursday time frame for that that weather alert day, just because of those dangerously wind chills at this point. Go ahead.
And we're going to be talking about wind chills, cold, -15, potentially -20 in some spots. It's going to be cold up there, especially in northern Arkansas, even down into central Arkansas as well, where our highs are going to be. We'll be lucky to get to 20 degrees in some instances across the state as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. That being said, as we continue to transition, a lot of times the deeper the snowpack we get will determine how deep the cold air is going to be as we head into Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah. So let me see here.
Which also why we said travel is going to be impacted past Tuesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, travel is going to be really, really bad. It's going to be bad really until we get to Thursday. And then even then, by Friday, we will start to see that transition to roads getting a little better. But if you get the amount of sleet and or snow, it's going to take several days to get rid of.
Yeah, I see what they're talking about with the NAM here. I think it's still underdoing the totals in terms of snow in central Arkansas, but it is getting colder.
Mm-hmm.
I could take a look at the run-to-run change here, and it is starting to get colder for that time frame.
What did it have for the sleet totals?
Sleet totals are ridiculously high. I don't like using one model, but it's got a good amount of sleet, probably upwards to an inch of sleet through this area here. So it's pretty much lining up to where our forecast is. I think it's still running just a touch warm, especially as we move into late Tuesday into Wednesday. But I will say this: 10 degrees colder from the 18Z to the 0Z is what we're wanting to see in terms of trying to get rid of this freezing rain threat as we move into your Tuesday night into the Wednesday here.
All right, so you have the timing graphic.
Yes, sir, I do. Yeah.
So let's talk about this really fast.
Yeah.
So with this event, this is going to be starting in West Arkansas and moving its way east. Now, one thing I want to reiterate from this is that winter precipitation is going to start later in South Arkansas, but you're going to have moisture all day long. Once precip starts, your temperatures will plummet.
Yeah.
You're going to start in the 30s and 40s in South Arkansas, upper 30s, low 40s. You will bottom into the 20s by evening. And that's where your precip is going to be changing over to that freezing rain, hence why that freezing rain is going to be there. But again, we start early morning, 4 a.m., 5 to noon, most likely is the start time. Now, this is the start time for this to start, okay? Then this goes into 3 to 7 p.m. in Central Arkansas. My concern is that we will be, especially if schools are in session on Tuesday, that we could be dealing with one of those situations where everybody's rushing to get their kids and it starts a little sooner.
I hope it's not like that. If you got school officials that are looking at this right now, please keep in mind that, especially when you talk about freezing rain and sleet, travel conditions will rapidly deteriorate. It does not take long for those roads to become slick, even with temperatures that are just barely above freezing here. So if you're a school official, you're a superintendent, you're trying to plan out the upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday for, trying to plan that out in terms of either school's going to be out, stuff like that, please try, if you're going to close them, please try to do it as early as possible so we can avoid that potential situation here. So, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. And it's just something, especially when you start talking ice. Snow takes a little bit to get going, but you start talking freeze rain and sleet, those roads are trashed immediately. So we can take a look at some of the questions here. So this is from Teresa. Also, thank you guys for tuning in. By the way, like I said, we finally figured out how to go live on Facebook here. So, what would travel conditions be like for Tuesday evening from Conway to Russellville? That is along Interstate 40. If you want to talk a little bit more about that,
So again, so what was the question again?
it's what would travel conditions? Yeah.
Okay, so this we dealt with this in January as well. When we talk about the travel,
Mhm.
folks, travel when it comes to a winter storm is not recommended. Anytime you get a winter storm in the south, especially one that is going to stretch the state thin when it comes to, our resources. You're going to have resources from North Arkansas all the way to South Arkansas with this event. And you have, I think, maybe 100 plows, 200 plows for the whole state. This is another situation where you're going to have to, where those plows are going to be spread out statewide. So that being said, you're going to be, again, travel during the day, Tuesday night, into Wednesday morning is not recommended across the state, because that is when your heaviest precip will be falling with temperatures in the 20s, and those temperatures will be plummeting into the teen and single digits for some around the state. So that being said, you don't want to be traveling with the roads will become bad instantly, especially with this being below freezing tonight, below freezing tomorrow night, ahead of this event.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, on Tuesday, with the cloud cover in place and northeast winds, I'm going to put a challenge and see if we actually get above freezing on Tuesday, especially in north and central Arkansas. South Arkansas,
I don't think we will.
South Arkansas, you will warm up, but especially north and central, it's going to be a challenge.
And our forecast reflects colder than what data has already at this time.
So let me see here. Let's go to Dustin. Dustin, one of our forecasters. Churches need to pay attention to that Wednesday time frame as well, because if we start getting snow that accumulates there in North Arkansas, the ice accumulates in central, etc., roads are not going to improve. I want to stress this. A lot of folks are going to try to get back out on Thursday. Temperature is going to be way below freezing on Thursday. I think if we have back to normal traffic, it's going to be probably at the earliest Friday, and you're pushing it then. Saturday, temperatures will try to warm back up, but don't try to get out on Wednesday or even Thursday. Kind of similar to what happened the last event we had in January. Temperatures stayed below freezing. We had a couple of days where the roads were just trashed. The main roads clear first. The back roads are always the last they get to. So please keep that in mind here. Okay, so. Let me see here. I love this comment. I do believe that's from Aaron. Make sure if you have any travel inquiries, go to that website, iDriveArkansas.com. We will have road conditions posted throughout this event as well. I'm actually going to try to tie that into our Roku channel so you guys kind of keep up with that here. We'll work on that later on here. So let's see. Thank you for the news. Advice to everybody, just stay safe and warm. Let me see here. Not Aaron, excuse me. I was looking at Aaron. I was looking at the other screen here. Austin. Hey guys, love the new weather studio. Appreciate that, man. Special shout out to Firetex and Ankle Monitor for allowing us to be in this weather studio, providing you guys the coverage here. So let me see. I see where Michael Deuce said the models are coming in colder. Michael, I'm gonna tell you this. I need you guys to get a fan and push that colder south. If you want to try to avoid a significant ice event, and you're talking totals, especially in the Ouachitas, could approach a half an inch of ice. You want to avoid the significant ice potential. You've got to get that cold air to push south. This is what we want to see. Kind of like with severe weather, you want to see that heavy rainfall, the cloud cover that pushes the warm front south. You want the same thing with this, because we've got to avoid I don't think a lot of people don't understand this. This is a potential to be a significant ice event if we're not careful here. So we've got to get that cold air as far south as we possibly can to try to avoid a significant icing event here in Arkansas. Go ahead.
So one thing, I do want to throw out there, and Michael continues to point this out. We will be dealing with high winds with this event.
Yes.
It's something that in the South, you don't get blizzard conditions often.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying it's going to be a blizzard, but what I'm saying is that you will have winds that could potentially bring the blizzard-type conditions to especially our folks in northeast Arkansas in the Delta region where things are a little bit, flatter and more open, eerily similar to what we see out in the plains.
Yeah.
But again, we're not ready to, cross that bridge just yet.
No.
But again, that being said, there is the potential there, hence why the power outage is such a high priority because even with a quarter inch of ice or less,
Yeah.
those winds will be enough to do damage, especially when it comes to power around the state. Now, that being said, all it takes is a little bit of change in the shift in this whole thing, and everything changes.
Strength of the load, the track. I mean,
Yeah, and the speed of
And the
the
speed.
system as well. That's going to be another big thing with this is moisture has increased the closer we got. Cold air is slowly being picked up on. The closer we get, would not be shocked to see as we get closer, the cold air gets a little bit more deeper. Again, we don't focus on model run to model run. We take a lot into account when it comes to, human error, when it comes to temperatures, when it comes to, especially climatology around the state, geography around the state, because Arkansas is a geographic nightmare when it comes to winter weather in this state.
So this is a really good question from Sarah. Are we talking about a wet snow or are we talking about a dry snow? So the further south you get, especially from the Fort Smith, Clinton, Batesville, Jonesboro, Blytheville area down towards Walnut Ridge. I keep saying Walnut Ridge. Waldron, Russellville, the Conway, West Memphis area. That's where I think your wet snow potential is going to be because you have more moisture. The further north you go, especially you get close to the Missouri border, that's where the dry snow is going to be. The potential for our folks up there. So it's going to be a combination of both. Some areas are going to see those really big snowflakes, kind of like what we saw last month. And then there's going to be folks that are going to see that dry powder snow that's not really good for making snowmen and stuff like that, especially the further north you go into further north Arkansas and into southern Missouri here, guys. So while you guys are here, while we have people here, make sure you follow our new page here, guys. If you guys haven't known by now, we got hacked about a week ago, and now we're having to rebuild. So if you guys could follow the new page, we would really appreciate it. We found out a way to go live on our page after a lot of trial and error.
Yep.
So we've got that taken care of, guys. So if you guys want to make sure you follow us, we would really appreciate it here. Okay. So from Jeffrey here, what will be the major concerns for places that are expected to get all three, like Fort Smith? Really great question with this.
I mean, let's go back to the main precinct graphic, because that's where right this is what we call the Arkansas slushy.
Yeah.
I
wish I had one of those icy balls right now.
So that being said, in this area, in this area of transition, this is where we're going to be dealing with a wide range of preset. Now, that being said, if the cold air is deeper, your snow totals go up.
Yep.
If the warm nose is deeper, then the ice and sleet totals go up. But that means hence why you have a wide range across this portion of the state. And actually, where we have this area highlighted, where it's freezing rain and sleet to snow, this area could actually start out with a little bit of freezing rain and sleet, and then transition to all snow by Tuesday afternoon, evening, and we could see a few more inches of snow than what is currently anticipated.
Yep.
The moisture amounts with this system are going to be high early on, but then as your cold air works in, your snow ratios are going to go up. So as you can see a situation, as you transition to snow, you get those high ratios for a short period of time.
15, 20 to 1 ratios, yeah. So go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. But again, for our folks in South Arkansas, especially, for places like Dequeen, Hope, Texarkana, Camden, Monticello, even up towards Mena and Daisy, Arkadelphia, you're going to be dealing with ice almost up to a quarter inch or more with this event. There's no way around that. And then of course, obviously for our folks along 82, like Magnolia, El Dorado, Crossit, Lake Village, this is the area that is the most uncertain right now, because if that warm nose could be all rain, or you could see a period of freezing rain as well there too. But this is where the cold air will take the longest to get to, as we have mentioned. James, a very good
Yeah, I
question
was
as
just
well.
about to tell you
Yep.
about his comment.
The
Let's go back
snowpack.
to the north.
Yep.
We saw the 2022 event where you had a snowpack in the Ohio Valley and in the Midwest. And what happened was, we had forecast, and I'm gonna tell you guys this: we don't like forecasting ice. I hate it. You talk about freezing rain, like I said, it causes all the issues and everything like that. Whenever you try to forecast this, model data is not going to pick up the snowpack in the north. It's not going to pick up those little fine little details, kind of like with severe weather.
Yep.
So the biggest thing is that is the case. What happened in 22 was, we forecasted that big ice event here in central Arkansas. Then the cold air decided to funnel further south than expected, and we went from seeing what could have been a catastrophic ice event here in central Arkansas to a snow and sleet storm, and the ice went down in the southern Arkansas here. So we're having to keep an eye on that. But right now, that's a really good question, James. And yes, that could help get the Arctic air here quicker. And with us getting northeast winds, we get the cold air to funnel into the northeastern part of the state. If you've lived up there, you know how flat it is. The cold air is able to travel a lot faster in northeast Arkansas than it is in northwest Arkansas, because you have the Ozarks that kind of act like a barrier to keep the cold air from really funneling down. If you can get that cold air around those mountains, it does allow that cold air to funnel in faster than what the model data is suggesting, and that could help us negate what could be a rather significant ice event, especially for our folks in central and in southern Arkansas and into western Arkansas at this time here. So, the last time we saw a blizzard was in 2012. It's very rare. I think the last one we had was the Gulf Coast storm down there in southwest Louisiana. They were the ones that get a blizzard warning down there. So it's very, 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 very rare
2025 has
to
been
get
a
one.
very odd year,
Very odd
And for
year.
those of you that have wanted a winter, well, you've got in Arkansas. We were talking about this earlier today. In December, it was a cold and rainy Christmas, but overall it was cold.
Yeah.
Then you got into the first of the year. A lot of cold air was in place. We had snow, several weeks of cold air. We had about a week or so of a warm up, and now it's cold again. And so now we're dealing with this again. So again, for those of you that are winter weather lovers like myself, it has been a very fruitful winter if you like winter, colder air per se.
Mm-hmm. So let me see here. Thanks, Cam. Will also blowing snow be an issue? 20, 25 mile per hour winds, especially in North Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that being an issue, especially with dry snow. I think the majority of that will be greatest across southern Missouri, where your current winter storm warning is right now, for upwards to, I think, a foot of snow up there, half a foot, even more.
Yes.
Up there.
Up to 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, up there in the in southern Missouri here. So that may be an issue the closer you get to the Arkansas-Missouri border here. So what do we think the wind speeds are going to be? Roughly around 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts. That's why we're so concerned about the potential of seeing power outages, because you're adding those wind speeds with ice that has accumulated on tree limbs, that's accumulated on power outages and stuff like that. So that's why the power outage threat is definitely there, and it's something that we're going to monitor like a hawk over the next 24 hours here. So I saw that one comment about the sled and the sleet. I think Taylor ended up getting that one.
Sledding is awesome on sleet. I will say that I have had multiple experiences as a kid with sleet.
I never did it with sleet. It was always snow with me.
Yeah. And well, let's just say that I ran into a telephone pole, but we're not going to talk about that. So that being said, what are the odds of northern Arkansas making a run at a foot of snow? It is definitely a possibility. It is definitely a possibility. Uric Springs Live is the one who made that question. It is a possibility, especially for our folks in places like Harrison, Uric Springs, and Fayetteville, Mountain Home, Hardy, Cherokee Village, places along the Missouri border. I feel like have the best chance of that.
Yeah.
Now again, if your low moves a little further south, if your system moves a little further south and colder a little deeper, then again, though that could come up. So again, we have plenty of time for this to change and those amounts to go up.
Yeah.
We also have time for those amounts to go down as well, and that ice is completely move further north.
I tell you what, this is one event, and I know it's going to cause a lot of chaos in the comments. This is one event that I would want the snow totals to go up and the freezing rain and sleet to go down. Because snow, yes, it does cause issues, does cause travel issues and stuff like that. It's a little easier to deal with snow than it is with freezing rain. And another part of this is the last event, afterwards, yes, it was cold, but it wasn't as cold as what's getting ready to happen this upcoming week. This week, after this event, it's going to be brutal. So you start talking power outages, you start talking about, stuff like that. It could be life threatening, because, most people, they have central heating, stuff like that. Power gets knocked out. You don't have the heat, stuff like that. So, this is one event that I would like to see the snowfall totals, especially in central and south, to start going up a little more. And let's start knocking down those freezing rain totals here, because it can get very bad very, very quickly if we're not careful.
Let's pull up Lori's comment.
Okay, I had Matt, so he was just asking about the chance of freezing rain to go completely away, and I think I just answered your question, Matt. We need that colder air to come down further south.
So Lori's comment, could the winds help dry line? Could the winds help dry the power lines and the roads before they have time to glaze and stuff like that? So the biggest thing with this,
that's a good question. That's a really good question.
It is. So the biggest thing with this is that it's not necessarily that there's too much precipitation, but it's the fact that you're going to be below freezing during the entire event for at least Monticello. Basically, wherever you see the freezing rain line and north, you're going to be below freezing for 90% of this event, if not all of the event. So that being so, wind won't really have an effect on the roadways with this. Hence, and you're also going to be dealing with at times moderate to heavy precip as well. So therefore, the precip falling won't have time to dry out. If it was a light event or light flurry and stuff like that, I would say yes. But given the fact you're dealing with such a high impact event with rain and sleet and snow, depending where you're at in the state, unfortunately with this event, you won't have time for those roads to dry up, and the roads will become bad really, really quickly with this event.
Yeah. So, should we expect power outages in Walnut Ridge here? I think you guys are going to be too far north to see a lot of pretty much with the power outage still here, because I know when you talk power outages, it just, it sends the anxiety through the roof, and for the right reasons. Would you guys being up there in the snow, not really too concerned about power outages up there? Obviously, we'll keep an eye on it, kind of like what we did with the last event. But when you start talking freezing rain, that's where your power outages start going through the roof. It's kind of like how with severe weather, how you have those, damaging winds. Damaging winds causes power outage issues. Same thing applies here with winter weather. So, with you guys being in the snow up there, I'm not too terribly concerned about power outages up there. I think the majority of it is going to be where you have the wintry mist, the freezing rain, in this kind of slushy color in central and in south central Arkansas at this current time here. So, let me see here. Now, Kristen, this is a good question. Does this entire winter weather event have the potential to bust? Yes. With every single event in Arkansas, there is a bust potential, no matter what it is. Tropical, winter, snow, severe, anything big time weather event related has the potential to bust. That's just how weather works. Weather's constantly changing. I don't have a magic 8 ball. He doesn't have a magic 8 ball over here. So, at least as far as I know, he doesn't have one over here. So, we can't forecast, 100% like, hey, this is going to happen, stuff like that. So that can happen. I say personally, if this is going to bust, I would like to see the freezing rain to bust. Yeah. I would like for it to go away and we just talk about snow and we get it over with. Because I hate dealing with freezing rain, guys. It causes so many issues when you talk about freezing rain. But unfortunately, that is a legit possibility. But that's a really good question, Kristen, about that bust potential here. So, which one do you want to pull up? I think, let me see here. Wendy, I love your comment too. I love the warmer weather, but I'm ready for one winter storm.
We just had a winter storm.
We had one, I was going to say, we had one in January. You may be in South Arkansas because I know you guys got screwed out of that snow down there. And
No,
unfortunately,
she lives in England.
in England,
Yeah, she works at Fairway.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, so you know.
Yeah. Um. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
So let's see. So yeah. Don't give me that. We need another winter storm.
yeah. No.
You know. I love snow though. Not.
Look, I like the warm weather outside of it because every time warm weather brings tornadoes here in Arkansas. If we can get warmer weather without the tornadoes, I'd take it at any time here. But I don't mind one good winter storm. So could the sleet possibly move further down into Camden, into El Dorado, Jerry? I'm gonna be straightforward with you. I would love to see it, but I can't forecast that right now because of the warm air advection. That could be a problem. Go ahead.
So with this type of setup,
Yeah.
especially for our folks, in the freezing rain, obviously there's always a caveat.
Yeah.
The atmosphere does what it wants to do. We've seen this time and time again, especially in Arkansas. We see it with severe weather. We see it with winter weather. We see it all the time. I think one of the best examples was a few years ago in Jonesboro, where Ryan
Vaughn, if you're watching this, I'm sorry.
had forecasted, I believe it was like 2 to 4 or 4 to 6, whatever inches of snow. And
Yeah.
they got over a quarter inch of ice plus. They had an ice storm out of a snowstorm that was expected. That is one example of the atmosphere doing what it wants to do. Because at the surface, all the way up, there's 3 layers of the atmosphere you want cold. You got to have all 3 of those layers cold for you to get all snow. If one of those layers is warm enough,
Just like
you're
they
either
get
going to
there.
get sleet, ice, or just rain.
Yeah.
And that being said, for our folks in the freezing rain area, you're going to be cold at the surface, but aloft up, you're going to be warm, in some cases really warm, too warm to support sleet, but just warm enough or just cold enough to produce freezing rain. Now, that being said, your low track south, your cold air comes in a little deeper, then guess what happens? That column is a little bit colder, therefore you get sleet. I don't see much in the way of snow out of this,
Yeah.
but again, you see why winter weather forecasting is such a headache,
Yeah.
because there's so many layers of the atmosphere you have to work through, and everything has to work in tandem. Otherwise, you deal with one part goes off and your whole forecast is bust.
Yeah.
So our hope is that it's colder than what's currently anticipated,
Yep.
and everybody gets snow. I mean, hey, that would be a miracle, but I don't see that happening.
I've always said this: if you're gonna get a winter storm, let it be snow. Just if we're gonna get a winter storm, let's just let it be snow and get it over with. If you start talking ice, you start talking power outages, you start talking everything else here. So we got a question about heavy snow. What does that mean for the snowfall potential? Now, we have this same problem with severe weather. I don't want you guys focusing just on the snow because this is a multi precipitation type winter storm here. It's not just snow across the state. I wish it was. It would be much easier to forecast.
Yep.
But with the heavy snow, what it means up there in North Arkansas, we could see upwards of 3 to 6 inches of snow. Could be even higher, especially the closer you get to the Missouri border. Further south you go, the lower the snowfall totals will start to get, especially across central and down into south central Arkansas here. Kim, I know you brought this up in our server here, talking about the faucets and the slow stream. We've had a lot of people ask about it. I think what will end up happening, Derek, if you want to talk more about that, especially post winter storm, because I know after this event it's gonna get just brutal,
And,
downright cold.
that is something that actually I was going to bring up. I have seen a bunch of comments
Yeah.
about travel. Will the roads be clear by Wednesday? Will the roads be clear by Thursday? Will the roads be clear by Friday? So, I will say this. I grew up at a time frame where, hey, stay home.
Yeah.
In this type of setup, obviously we have our essential workers, we
Our
have
healthcare
people,
workers, grocery store
some
workers.
of that who have to go in. But the one thing about this event is starting
Mhm.
very similar to what we saw in 21, minus the crazy amount of snow, where you have the winter storm come in and then their temperatures just plummet. And this is exactly what we're going to have. Because Tuesday you have the winter storm. Wednesday,
Matter of fact.
nobody gets above freezing.
Yeah.
Thursday, nobody gets above freezing. Friday, South Arkansas gets above freezing. You won't get above freezing until we get to possibly midday Saturday. Maybe parts of Central Arkansas get above freezing on Friday, but overall, this is going to be 60, especially when you're dealing with ice and sleet on the road. It's going to take several days for this to melt. Even with the sunshine in place, highs in the teens, highs in the low 20s, and then lows dropping down below zero in the single digits. You're going to be dealing with this for several days, and not just a little in, out, and gone thing. So again, we're dealing with ice, sleet, and snow.
Yeah.
Then we're going to deal with winds. We're going to deal with wind chills well below zero.
Yeah.
Then we're going to be dealing with highs in the teens and 20s.
Yeah, speaking of the wind chills, I got this pulled up, and this is just from the Euro. Take a look at that, folks. That's first thing Thursday morning. Those are wind chills, and I want to make this clear. -15 to -20, guys. That is life-threatening, feels like temperatures, guys. And that's something that if you don't have layers of clothes on, it will cause frostbite and hypothermia within an instant. So very, 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 very cold temperatures coming our way behind this system. This is not going to be a situation, and especially my folks in North and Central Arkansas, we understand. We know people, life doesn't stop for myself, from him, and for our team. It don't stop. Mm-hmm. A lot of people still got to go to work, bills still got to get paid, stuff like that. I get it. We 100% get it. We're not upset about that at all, but we want you guys to be safe. If you got to travel on Wednesday, you got to travel on Thursday, the main roads are going to be the first one RDOT are going to take care of. Those are going to be the first ones they take care of, the interstate, stuff like that. Your problem you're going to run into is behind this system, temperatures are not going to rebound like they did with the last system. It's going to be cold. The road temperatures are very, very cold right now, and it's not helping that we're going to be below freezing before the event even gets started. So you got to be patient with them. Like I said before, we get it. We know life doesn't stop, but just don't expect to be, full blazing, going back to traffic, going back to how we were by Wednesday or Thursday, guys. Here, at the earliest, we start warming these temperatures up by Friday and Saturday. But these are just some brutal wind chill temperatures first thing Thursday morning here. And we've got a lot of folks that have, farm animals outside, have animals that live outside and stuff like that. It's going to be a situation you want to find somewhere indoors or somewhere warm for them as we move into Wednesday and into Thursday time frame here. Sorry about that. I was wanting to kind of bring that point up because even behind this event, it's going to be cold. It's not going to be like, oh, hey, if you get past this event, temperatures rapidly warm back up. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be short-lived, but it is going to be cold behind the system.
And one thing about it is that I know, one thing about it we're going to have to watch out is this may not be the only winter weather event we're talking about this week. There are some small hints that we could be talking about late week as well.
Yeah.
Again, if you get at the start of this outbreak and the end of the Arctic outbreak, I mean, that's going to enhance things further. Again, we are nowhere near ready to talk about that yet because that has been a hit and miss system. But given the pattern we are in, it has been supercharged all winter long.
Yep.
It would not shock me to get one last event before spring comes around the corner. And I say that loosely because looking down the road as we turn the corner to March, I do see that potential to see spring starting as early as first weekend of March. So for you folks who love warmer weather, it is right around the corner.
Look, I'm telling you this right now. I take the warmer weather, but don't bring the severe weather. We don't want tornadoes. We don't want that life-threatening stuff. We just want the warm.
So,
that's all we want. Warm as
interesting
fun.
development.
Yeah.
The new HR is in.
Yeah.
With heavy snow.
Yeah.
And thunderstorms.
That's right.
As well.
So,
one thing we're going to bring up, and we're not going to put a graphic out just yet, but
it's being monitored.
If trends continue with this event, we could be dealing with thunderstorms, with heavy snow and heavy sleet and heavy freezing rain. Mm-hmm. That is something we're definitely going to have to watch for because if you get convective, and then what I mean by convective is thunderstorms, thunder and lightning with this event, then your totals go up exponentially. Yep. This 3 to 6 inch snow could go to a foot. Your 2 inches of sleet could go to 4. Your quarter inch of ice could go to, an inch ice really quick. So it's something that we're going to have to watch for, as we go. Again, tomorrow night, our Roku channel, our 24/7 channel goes into winter storm mode. Cameron's going to work his darndest to get the Fire TV back up and going, but we're not making promises on that. It's been a minor coding issue that has been a nightmare to work out.
Yep.
But, we will tomorrow night going into that winter storm mode, and we will stay in winter storm mode as long as conditions warrant.
Yep.
We'll have all the graphics playing, we'll have broken explained, radar, everything you need to know to keep you ahead of the storm.
Yep.
Even when we're not live here on Facebook, not live on YouTube, because we do have full-time jobs too, so we gotta do what we gotta do to pay the bills and keep food on the table as well.
Yep.
But that being said, Gulf moisture, Pacific moisture, Arctic air spell trouble across the state of Arkansas every time.
You might as well get you that slushy maker whenever you talk about that, because you start introducing warming air and all that. So from Sarah, hoping this is not a 2009 ice storm repeat. I don't think it's going to be to that extreme because of the, when 2009 you had a ton of warm air injection coming in. So I hope it doesn't get to that level. Obviously, like Derek mentioned before, you start talking thunder, freezing rain, thunder, sleet, thunder, snow, your totals start going up from there. So this is something that we're monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
I have a graphic preset for something like that because that does happen down here, especially when you start talking warm air convection. That is a graphic that we have preset. We're not going to post it yet or anything like that. We both want to see a little bit more. Basically, what you're looking at, if I can pull this up, I don't know if I'm able to pull this up on live or not, but we're gonna see. Basically, let's do this. Okay, so basically, what you're looking at here, and this is somewhat similar to what you deal with severe weather, but it's not going to be severe weather for those that are listening to this. This is what we call most unstable cape, or in some cases, we'll dub it as most unstable storm fuel. Basically, what this does is it helps promote thunderstorms, generalized thunderstorms, not just severe weather, just generalized thunderstorms. That's lightning, that's thunder, stuff like that. I think the number, if I'm correct, is like 5 or 10 joules per kilogram to start thunder.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking 100, 200. This is enough to get you some generalized thunderstorms across the area. So if that happens, you'll have thunderstorms that will develop over shallow Arctic cold air. That is a nightmare situation for freezing rain.
Now,
go ahead.
I want to throw another caveat into this system too.
Yeah.
There's a marginal risk for severe weather during this time frame as well.
Yeah.
So, that being said, storms on the Gulf Coast, what do? They rob moisture from up north.
That promotes cold air.
Which lets the cold air come further south, which leads to lower totals north, higher snow totals, and then your freezing rain, all that line gets pushed further south.
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of moving parts with this system.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot to work through over the next 24 hours.
Yep.
I know we're going to be live probably about the same time tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow night, same bet. 24 hours from now, there will be ice storm warnings. I'm betting on it. There will be winter weather advisories. There will be winter storm warnings.
Yeah.
And I fully expect, if not all 75 counties, most of our 75 counties most of our covered area is going to be under some sort of winter weather alert by this time tomorrow night. I fully expect when you wake up in the morning, you will see. I know it's going to happen. We're going to have a winter storm warning in North Arkansas and a winter storm watch in Central of some sort, and nothing in South. Don't blow the page up because
please don't.
What the National Weather offices are doing, and keep in mind, the National Weather Services run 5 different parts of this state. Northwest Arkansas is ran by Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Northeast Arkansas is ran by Memphis. Most of Arkansas is ran by Little Rock.
Yep.
You have Southwest Arkansas ran by Shreveport, Ashley and Chico counties ran by Jackson.
Yeah.
That being said, you have 5 different offices in this state that run this state. Therefore, everyone has a different criteria when it comes to watches and warnings.
Yeah.
That being said, you're going to see a different period of when the watches and warnings get put out. So don't blow us up, saying, hey, my area's not, we're not getting anything. The next 24 hours are when we go from, hey, we fine-tune everything and get ready for a massive winter storm, or we get ready for nothing at all. That's where we're at right now.
I'll tell you this, especially with those advisories, watches, and warnings, because we've done this for so long. Most times, nine out of 10 times, those advisories and stuff get issued for travel. They get issued for travel. Obviously, accumulations does have a big role with that as well, but it's accumulations and travel. There will be places that may not be under an advisory, may not be under a watch or a warning. And still end up getting some sort of winter weather. But the National Weather Service, what they do, they determine a couple of things. Number one, is it going to impact travel? That's the number one question they ask. Is it going to impact travel? Is it going to be a situation where, is it a life-threatening situation for people to be out traveling? Number two, the amounts. How much are we talking? How much, snow, sleet, freezing rain? How much is going to accumulate? There's a lot of things that go into those watches and warnings. It's not just, okay, hey, we're going to put Central Arkansas because we want to put it there. It's based off of what does data look like, what are radar trends looking like, what is travel looking like, all that. So, my folks in South Arkansas, I want to stress, ice is a very big concern down there. I'm praying that things trend colder for you guys down there, because if not, somebody's going to get significant ice out of this. That's the bottom line. That's what's going to happen in a situation like this. Somebody out of this is going to be South Central Arkansas, Southern Arkansas, North Louisiana, somewhere in that area is going to get significant ice. It can't be avoided. It can't. But what we can do is start to get that colder air further south, see trends that are going to start getting colder, and hopefully start to negate this ice total threat here. But my folks in North Arkansas, we're not talking about you guys too much, because it's a lock. You might as well just throw the key away with the forecast up there in North Arkansas. It's a lock. You guys got snow up there. That's the bottom line. It's going to take a system to go a significant change with the track of the system for you guys to see any sort of change to your forecast up there. Up there, it's mainly just how much snow you're going to get. That's it. You don't have to worry about ice. You don't have to worry about freezing rain. You don't have to worry about all the other details. It's just you guys are going to get snow up there in northern and northwestern Arkansas. Further south, the question mark starts to become bigger and bigger and bigger. Like how much snow you're going to get, how much sleet you're going to get, how much freezing rain you're going to get. What are wind gusts going to look like? What are potential power outages, potential travel? All these questions start piling up. The further south you go to North Arkansas, you have one question: how much snow am I going to get? Yep. That's how it is, North Arkansas. Central and south, you have to start adding, sleet, snow, freezing rain, wind, travel, all that other stuff across those areas. So that's why we're saying that over the next 24 hours, you're going to have to be patient with this. We're going to have a forecast posted as frequently as possible here, but that's the information that we still have to try to figure out on how much you guys are going to see. What is travel going to look like, etc. Here. Go ahead.
So once again, like you said, expect changes with this outlook over the next 24 hours. We will have another update tomorrow evening, going over all of the newest information. Same time, same place.
Yep.
Going over all of the newest information. So be sure to tune in for that. Again, a lot to watch over the next 24 hours. That being said, get the word out, share. Hey, this is our new page.
Yeah.
Our old one got hacked a little over a week ago. We lost it. It is what it is. But you pick up the pieces and you move on and you keep going.
Yep.
That is all you can do. And honestly, it's just we kind of look back at it now and go, well, I guess they needed it more than we did, because we just keep on rolling like nothing ever happened, because that's who we are.
Yep.
That being said, Cameron, do you have anything else to go over this evening?
Nope, that's it. Like I said, this is going to be posted after this live stream, kind of like what we normally do. Kind of a live stream recap. In case you missed this live stream, you'll have the information on the page to kind of go over everything here. We're going to try our best not to do information overload, but there's a ton of information you guys have got to know over the next 24 to 48 hours here.
And basically from tonight through 6 p.m. tomorrow night, we will, you will have a local forecast on the Roku channel and the 24/7 network on YouTube.
Yep.
So, obviously it displays about 22 cities around the state. Know where you're at in location to that city. That will give you a human updated forecast, not a computer generated forecast.
Yep.
Therefore, that way you will know what's going to happen in and or near your town. But for myself, for Cameron,
Yep.
we thank you for tuning in, join
Thank y'all
us,
so
and trust
much.
us. Shout out to all of our amazing sponsors, Superior RV, with him more than
Yates Maintenance.
Yates
I
Maintenance.
will say this.
Little
Yates,
T's.
yeah, Little T's Mini Golf. If you guys can do me a favor, you guys see these sponsors on here, go like their page. They keep us going. They've been there. You know, after what happened last week, they really supported us in terms of getting things back up and running. So whenever you guys see those logos scrolling at the bottom of your screen, go check out their page. They really help keep this ball game rolling here. So myself, Derek, I think that's it.
Yep.
That's everything.
And
So
thank y'all for joining us right here at your source for all things Arkansas weather.